Hello and welcome to my little experiment. The Nintendo Switch 2 launched earlier this year, and with it came an even bigger abandonment of Nintendo Labo than we have seen up until this point. In fact, the Nintendo Labo VR kit is the one piece of first-party software that is outright incompatible with the Switch 2. And you can still play kits 1 to 3 with certain concessions, and you'll definitely need a right Joy-Con 1 to accomplish a lot of that, so you can buy that separately. But there may be some finer details about the Switch 2, the Joy-Con 2, and the Labo that maybe Nintendo didn't touch on. So today, we're testing every single Nintendo Labo accessory against the Switch 2 hardware to see what is and is not possible. And if you're looking for any more Labo content in the year of our 2025, then do peruse this channel after the fact. I did a panel earlier this year on Creators Contest creations, and last year on Nintendo Labo as a whole. Those were some fun live events, plus I've done other streams of building and playing the Labo, so, you know, I am the cardboard man. Anyway, if you are watching this live on Twitch, you can follow me there if you want to be part of that. You may see people pop up in the chat, or you might not. Depends on the night. But if you want to be part of that, there's a Twitch link in the description. Otherwise, for this VOD, you'll see various cuts to the important moments. And right now, there's about to be a cut while I prep the first accessory. First up, we're testing the Nintendo Labo RC car from the first kit, the Variety Kit. Now, this one, we already know there's going to be a critical failure because this was made with the Joy-Con 1 in mind. So you would typically attach the Joy-Con by sliding it as you would into the original Switch rail. But the Joy-Con 2 are not only a different size, but also attach via a different method. So even if I tried to slide this one in, yeah, there's a thinner portion at the bottom that allows the Joy-Con 1 to lock in. The Joy-Con 1, it kind of sticks into the inside a bit and then wraps around that thinner portion, so that keeps it from coming off. But Switch 2 does not have such a benefit. Like, if I try and push down into that thinner zone, I would probably break the Labo. So you cannot use a Joy-Con 2 on the RC car. However, we can connect the Joy-Con 1 to the Switch 2 via Bluetooth. All right, I did that quick cutaway to do the connecting process because there wasn't really much to say about it. As a reminder, if you are connecting an old Joy-Con to the Switch 2, you go to change grip /order in the controller settings and hold the sync button until the controller connects, and it's pretty simple. Might take a few seconds, but it is pretty simple. So now I've got working Switch Joy-Con up here. But anyway, I am using a Switch 2 tablet, and as expected, it is controlling the Joy-Con 1. So I'm going to pull that back a bit. On Nintendo's own website, they do give a warning. There is a cardboard antenna accessory that you can slide onto your Switch tablet while the Joy-Con are detached, so that it's more like a remote sending out a signal. It has no functionality as far as the game itself. It's just for decoration, but it will not fit the Switch 2 because of the larger tablet size. I'm currently messing with the sliders on the Joy-Con because you can change the vibration frequency, which, depending on conditions, may positively or negatively impact your vehicle's ability to move. I haven't done any modifications to this particular Labo RC car, so it moves pretty well at just the normal default middle frequency. It's about 165 hertz. I mean, it is an IR camera, not an actual camera, but looks pretty good on a Switch 2 screen, I gotta say. Not particularly better or worse than the Switch 1 screen, though. It's a little larger on the Switch 2 screen, though, because of this whole tablet being larger. Now I'm taking a look at the fishing rod here. Ooh. Still feels really nice on that simulated tension. It's one of my favorite visceral experiences with Labo. Anyway, we know that the Switch 2 tablet is too big to fit inside the cradle here. Nintendo states this on their own website when you look up Switch 2 compatibility. But just to show that briefly, it's too wide. Here it is up against the bottom of the thing and just too wide now. If it was just longer horizontally, the tablet, then it would still fit in. You just wouldn't be able to close it off with the top. But you can still dock this. I've definitely played a lot of Labo docked. Just dock it, look at the TV, but still use your fishing rod controller. Now, that begs the question, and I think I know the answer to this already because these are bigger, but I am going to check. Do the Joy-Con 2 fit in the fishing rod? And very quickly, I'm met with an immediate no on the left side. Okay, you can kind of squeeze it in there. Like, just about fits. I might be forcing it a little bit if I were to try and get it to go any further, but lack of IR camera is going to make that a big old no. Behold the house. Just like with the fishing rod and other accessories. I'll stop mentioning this from now on, but if you put your Switch tablet inside a Labo, there is no feasible way that the Switch 2 is going to fit it. You might be able to squeeze the Switch OLED model into some of them, but definitely not all of them without forcing it. So, yeah, don't try with the Switch 2 if you value your Labo like I do. But it's, again, another game you can play docked. Right off the bat, you're met with the barrier of you need a IR camera to go in the chimney to see what's happening in the house. So you have your Joy-Con 1 ready. I guess you don't technically need a dock if you are just willing to, you know, break the illusion slightly that this is not the house. Because it does have touchscreen functionality. I can touch the food to feed him. I don't know. I don't think that's going to come across in the camera, but I got the pet on there. Okay, I'm about to try something really absurd that I don't think you would ever feasibly want to do, but my curious mind wants to know. Now that I've paired the Joy-Con 1 to the Switch 2, can I pair a Joy-Con 2 and a Joy-Con 1 together into a dual grip? And then, if that is allowed, can I use the right Joy-Con in the house and then use the left Joy-Con to control the menus? Because it won't do anything else in that particular minigame. The rest of it is controlled by inserting the accessories into the holes or tilting the house around. So, you know, don't really need a left Joy-Con, but now I'm just curious. All right, I'm on the change grip and order screen. I'm going to hit L on the Joy-Con 2 and R on Joy-Con 1. It works. I actually have a symbol on the Switch that shows them paired together. It looks so awkward. I'm going to try and get a zoom in on this. Or, you know what? I'll take a screenshot and edit it in after the fact into that top right corner up there. Okay, so I put the right Joy-Con back in the house. I've got my left Joy-Con from the Switch 2. Okay, interestingly, pressing D-pad left gives you a different camera angle on the house, and I don't think I ever knew this. And clicking in the left stick allows you to do a check of the IR camera. I don't think I knew this either. I thought I would at least be able to open a menu and close out the game. But let me close out the game on the touch. Yeah, I can navigate the Labo menu with a Joy-Con 2 after the minigame's been closed. All right, well, if you just want to do it for the heck of it, you don't necessarily need a left Joy-Con 1. That could maybe save you some money if you bought a Switch 2 and you're trying to get into Labo, which is very unlikely because good luck finding it right now. But if you're trying to get the most out of it without getting both Joy-Con, then I guess you could buy just the right Joy-Con for the Switch 1 and keep your other Switch 2 Joy-Con and use that. Again, not for the RC car. You need 2 Switch 1 Joy-Cons, 1 for each side, because they need to slide in. Anyway, onto the motorbike. Behold, the motorbike. I've said my piece on the tablet, so the only question is, could you get a Joy-Con 2 into these special slots to control the motorbike with the handles? And given it's one of the tighter fits of the entire kit, even for Switch 1 Joy-Con, I'm going to hypothesize no, but I'll get back to you in a second once I've checked. My hypothesis was very much right. About halfway down, you start to feel it trying to bulge out the handle, and it's not going to fit in there. The motorbike would have been one example where you would think it was fine, because it doesn't actually use the IR camera on the original Joy-Con. It just uses gyro and buttons. But since they don't fit in the vehicle, you could probably simulate it without the peripheral, though. I'm going to try that next. Just as a quick jab at Mario Kart, the speeds in the motorbike circuit mode are 200cc, 400cc, and 600cc. Get on that, Nintendo. But I'm going to open a 200cc beginner course. I'm just going to pretend that this is inserted. I'm going to match the orientation that gets shown on the Toy-Con itself. That means you're going to want to hold the, you know where the optical sensor for the mouse is? You're going to want to hold the colorful sides towards you. Then remember, just pretend that you are twisting a throttle. And the R button is going to be your brake. Which button starts engine? ZR to start the engine. Okay. I just have to remember how this... Okay, you twist towards you to accelerate. Twist the right Joy-Con towards you to accelerate. And now we're turning. I didn't actually think I was going to be playing one of these. So I did not set up capture. ZR is your turbo boost, if you happen to have one. The L is your horn. No, wait, sorry. L is the turbo boost. So what was... One of these buttons is your brake. But yeah, if you figure out what button does what, and you awkwardly hold your arms out like this and steer and twist the throttle, you can still play this game with the Joy-Con 2. Alright, I'm going to quickly switch back to the Joy-Con 1 and do exactly what I did with the motorbike game, because now I want to see if you get stronger or better vibration in the Joy-Con 2, even though this is a Switch 1 piece of software. You know what? Absolutely you do. It was so much stronger on the Joy-Con 2. And that's not something I can necessarily convey in video. But take it from me. I just felt them both side by side, and I'm telling you, the other one was better. Like, miles better. This is the first time that I have had any reason to believe that HD Rumble 2 is in any way better than the original HD Rumble. Up to this point, I was just kind of in awe that people were saying that, and I could not feel it myself. But nope, this is what did it. Good old Labo. I present to you my Labo piano like a waiter. Your dish. Of course, this one requires a right Joy-Con with a camera. So, back to the Joy-Con 1 with us. Alright, now what I want to test on this one is something a little different. We're going to do a side-by-side comparison. With the piano, you can use the HD Rumble in the Joy-Con, and you can play notes and have the Joy-Con vibration play them back. And, you know, this was totally functional with Switch 1 technology. But now that we've proven that you can pair a Joy-Con 1 and 2 at the same time, so we get better music with the Joy-Con 2. Okay, it might not be possible to hear this on stream, but in the video version after the fact, I'm going to edit in that I am now going to play an approximation of the Cascade Kingdom from Mario Odyssey, and I will do it on the Joy-Con 1, followed by the Joy-Con 2, and let's see how they sound. Okay, so in the second video, you may have noticed the Joy-Con 2 wasn't actually really doing much of anything. I felt it in my hand afterwards. It was vibrating when I hit the notes. Still is. But it's not producing the sound because that's the right Joy-Con doing it. The one that's stuck in the back of the piano. It seems like it just tries its hardest to find a Joy-Con 1 because it doesn't know about Joy-Con 2. So, yeah, as much as I was hoping that HD Rumble 2 would provide better sound quality to the pitched vibrations, it just doesn't want to work that way. So, sorry, the piano is, in fact, very incompatible. I will double-check Studio just to be sure, but if not, we'll cut ahead to the next Toy-Con. Further tests continue to suggest that the Joy-Con 2 just doesn't vibrate loud enough for you to hear any sound, even if you were to, like, separate it from the piano so that you're not... I mean, if you're near the piano to play it, you're going to hear the Joy-Con 1 in the back of it vibrating, no matter what, but I tried to see if maybe I could record sound quality from the Joy-Con 2 vibrating while being away from it, but, yeah, it wasn't producing very loud vibrations, so I just think that one's a wash. But it did occur to me that there's an entire programming section in the garage, and I wonder if I can just tell it to have the left Joy-Con vibrate to different pitches and test it that way. So I went into Toy-Con Garage, and I programmed it so that if I hit a note on the piano, the left Joy-Con specifically will vibrate, and then when you go into settings on that output node, you can change the frequency of the vibration using a slider. It goes all the way up to 1280 hertz. And as I'm sliding that slider and keeping the note held down, I'm listening to the Joy-Con 2, and it's not a very strong vibration, but as you listen to it go through all the pitches, it pretty uniquely sounds more like a slide whistle than something buzzing up a storm, you know? So some would argue that is better sound quality, and maybe we'll see some neat implementations for that in games soon enough. It might be worth trying the Easter egg and Kirby Star Allies playing with some Joy-Con 2. But, yeah. There you go. It's technically better, but it's not loud enough that you're ever going to notice. So, as I've come to the end of Kit 1, I've done some thinking about how the other kits would go, and I've come to realize that Kit 1 was really the only one that needed extensive testing, because Kit 2 is the robot. So for the robot, you need a right Joy-Con with an IR camera to go in the back of the backpack and read the movements of the weights, which are controlled by your arms and legs. That's how you control the game. And the left Joy-Con goes in your visor, which is going to have a specially made grip for a Joy-Con 1. Even though all it really does is gyro for you lifting and lowering the visor. So, yeah. Yeah, but you could still use a Switch 2 tablet if you really wanted to. In fact, the Switch 2 tablet doesn't fit inside of most Toy-Con, but it would fit inside the interior of the backpack, which is something they recommend doing if you're essentially playing handheld with a sound maker mode in the robot. They're like, you could put the Switch in the backpack, and then when the sound comes out of the speaker, it follows you around. So you don't have to be tied down by a dock. So Switch 2 tablet would absolutely still fit in the backpack because you just carefully place it in a backpack. It's a big backpack. It's not a special slot like the Toy-Con in the Variety Kit. Big thing is Toy-Con 3 Vehicle Kit. Everything, aside from the gas pedal is designed for the left Joy-Con 1, so no dice there. This is the Toy-Con key. It goes inside the steering wheel, submarine, joystick for your plane, and the IR camera sticks out of the bottom. So again, you need the IR camera. But even then, a Joy-Con won't fit in this anyway. Not from the Switch 2. So if you want to play Vehicle Kit, again, you need a right Joy-Con, but could otherwise play docked or in tabletop on a Switch 2. And then finally, the VR kit is the one that they labeled outright incompatible, because when you play the games in VR, it switches to VR mode. And the problem is the Switch 2 tablet is not going to fit the goggles because it's much bigger. So you're out of luck on those games as well. So I do believe them when they say that one is completely incompatible, and that is why I still have my base model Switch to this day. I'm never letting go of this in case I want to play more with my Labo. This is the go-to system for it. It supports the Joy-Con 1. It supports the VR goggles. It's got it all. But the one thing we did learn is that the rumble really is better on the motorbike if you're willing to mime it. So if you happen to own Toy-Con Variety Kit 1 and the Switch 2, then I'd say it's worth a try just as a novelty. It was pretty neat. It's the best showcase for HD Rumble 2 that I have felt so far. And I've been playing most of the stuff that's been on Switch 2 so far. Like Dragon Drive, Mario Kart, Bonanza. Nope. It always comes back to Labo. So hopefully this was helpful in some way to get some questions answered about HD Rumble and the Joy-Con 2 and how it plays with the Labo kits, which used a lot of HD Rumble features for a variety of reasons. But yeah, dropping the IR camera was unfortunate. Even then, if they made the controllers bigger, it wasn't going to fit anyway. So I guess it was fine to drop that feature in the long run. I salute you, Labo. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a good one.